started here. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Twilio Call Center Lunch and Learn. My name is Adrienne Staniford. I'm the Director of Operations here with Alternative Solutions. Today, we've got Spencer Gibson, who is a Salesforce analyst from our team that will be presenting the webinar. Spencer has a lot of direct call center experience, as well as being Twilio and Salesforce certified consultant here with us. We'd love to hear your questions, so please put those in the comment box below. Michelle Parinello, our Director of Client Services, is also on this webinar with us. She and Spencer will work to get those answered during and at the end of the presentation. So feel free to put those in as we move forward, and we'll try to work those in or get them at the end of the presentation. Spencer, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you.
Thank you very much, Adrienne, and thank you everybody for joining us today. Today we're going to talk about contact center support using Salesforce and Twilio. So we'll get right into things. So it's all about Twilio and Salesforce working together today. And we're doing that to show you kind of how a call center might be built, but we're going to talk about contact center support more than the actual agents, the auxiliary pieces of the cogs in the wheel that make things work. We're going to talk a lot about tools that are available for workforce management, scheduling, forecasting, things like that. We're going to go into some tools that are available to supervisors in your organization, and a lot of those tools are going to cascade up into higher levels of management as well. And then throughout, we're going to try and talk about some industry best practices and highlight some of the reasons that we think Salesforce and Twilio built together is one of the best platforms you can find for your contact center. So Salesforce is often thought of as a sales company out in the world, but I'm sure many of us know on this call that it's quite a bit more than that. Service Cloud is actually where I spend most of my time in the Salesforce world. For today's presentation, Salesforce's Service Cloud is kind of going to serve as our portal for our contact center. So agents are going to log in there. It's going to handle authentication for the use case that we're going to describe. It's going to also hold all of your customer data and be your case management system. So we'll create cases, we'll edit customer data, we'll collect data, and we'll bring data in from outside systems like Oracle or SAP if we need to. Twilio is going to serve as several things, but the most important of them is going to be the way we connect to our customers. So this is oftentimes with a cell phone or a computer or tablet. Twilio actually offers a lot of other ways to connect with your customers. That could be Alexa, a smartwatch, or even a lot of different smart appliances within your home that might be more edge use cases, but it can be really neat to have the extensibility to be able to connect to so many different things. But it doesn't just connect you. So here's an example of how we take that a little bit further. So here's an IVR we've built using Twilio. Twilio gets the caller information. We share that out. We retrieve a customer record from a CRM. In this case, that's going to be Salesforce. We can go out and get marketing automation. We can figure out where a customer's at in a marketing cloud journey or Pardot. We can pull in information from an outside source like a website. And we can look at an order system like SAP, Oracle, or Salesforce's Commerce Cloud and pull in information from there. And we can serve a custom IVR up to the customer based on recent events that have happened with them and what we think is going to guide their experience the best. So as we talk a little bit more about workforce management, you talk a lot about key performance indicators there like average handle time, your abandonment rate, your queue time, and your service level. We're going to look at how we can identify these, forecast them, and react to them. Twilio Flex Insights and Twilio Flex Analytics are a really neat feature of Twilio that lets you kind of drill down into the different calls that you have. We have a scorecard here that's showing us not just a graph of call time, but it's actually showing us some other statistics brought in that we can use to drill down a little bit more. And we're going to have lots of different ways we can display this in real time and historical. And here we see just another example of all of the different information we're pulling in together by having different systems talk to each other. You can't really I mean, it's nice to schedule people, but if you can't get them to come in, that doesn't help. Ready, Set, Work is a really cool feature of Twilio that would have sounded like sci-fi to me 10 years ago. We can actually send text messages out to people, say it's Thursday, we've got a lot of agents off because that's usually a low forecasted day, but we realize we need overtime tomorrow. We're going to go ahead and text our agents. They can reply back with the word grab, and boom, they're added to the schedule, and we've solved our overtime crisis for tomorrow. Another thing that we see anytime we move someone into Salesforce, but especially in the call center, a lot of forecasting is done with spreadsheets. And I mean, you can't hate what works, but we have a lot more tools than that now available to us. So one nice thing about Salesforce and the Lightning system, we can create a custom object in Salesforce straight from an Excel spreadsheet. It's going to go ahead and match columns for us and let us create some properties for that object. We can then go in and take advantage of all of the things inside of Salesforce. Einstein Analytics might be useful, a little bit heavier formula abilities, and the ability to tie that data back into other things. Well, that's all great. What's much, much better than it, though, is actually having that data in your system. So over time, as Twilio handles all of this, we're going to be able to capture that information. So we're going to see detailed analytics that we wouldn't have had in a lot of previous systems, and we're going to be able to tie it into things like disposition codes and other key performance indicators that might help us understand where the volume's coming from and if there are outliers that we need to be addressing. So again, we come into the key performance indicators, and I think most of you, if you have a call center background, know what they are, like average handle time, customer satisfaction rate. So there are some important things we have to think about as we're looking at KPIs, though. We have to figure out how we're going to gather it. And this is one where I think it's historically been a big struggle, especially in piecemeal IT systems. Because Twilio and Salesforce speak so well together, having our telephony, our CRM, and all of our other system data in one place, we're actually gathering a complete picture of our data rather than 12 different pictures that we have to piece together later. We have to use that to plan. So we have to use these workforce management and optimization tools that we've talked about. We can also do that with company initiatives and training that we'll get into a little bit later. And then we have to actually use all of this to move the needle. So coaching, which kind of comes back into training, changing our knowledge base. We'll talk a little bit about how knowledge can be used pretty neat ways in Salesforce. And then it's gathering user feedback and actually implementing that to move the needle. So Twilio and Salesforce can speak together. Twilio has built the Twilio Studio connector. So it's kind of an API that lets Twilio and Salesforce speak with one another. They have a lot of full service features around this. It might not be 100% considered plug and play, but it's pretty quick with a fairly simple setup. And Twilio actually has free training on all of this on their website. And then, of course, you have consultants like us that are happy to help come in and get you through that process as well. And, you know, with Salesforce and Twilio connected, we can speak to everybody. We can go out to your HTML or WordPress website. We can speak with MailChimp, or we can use Salesforce's in-house features like Marketing Cloud, and after their purchase of ExactTarget and Perdot, really is a neat feature. We can go out to Oracle and SAP and pull information in. So your entire system really can reach out and connect. And you don't have, a lot of it's going to be somewhat plug and play and already guided for you, because there's so much out there already, and these are such big companies. So we talked a little bit about workforce optimization and some of the cool tools that'll be available to you. Another thing I wanted to talk about, and we don't usually think about training as a workforce management tool, but efficiency really matters. So as we start to knock time off of average handle time, as we start to use IVRs to more correctly route calls, or offset some of our caseload to web chats or our mobile app, we're going to see our efficiency ratings start to rise. And the change that can make, especially as you get into larger organizations, really shouldn't be discounted. We also mentioned company initiatives around this earlier. So by having the ability to deep dive into our workforce optimization, we can also do other things that aren't necessarily staffing related, like add an IVR message, maybe do a proactive marketing effort, add a retention sales or even a customer service upselling offer, or change our resource allocation on the help desk, writing knowledge articles, or the like. Reporting is also a key tool for all of this, and it kind of ties in both workforce management and the supervisor side. So this is kind of an example of Salesforce and some of the many ways that we can show you call volume and represent that. I like Twilio's reporting features that we see here even better. Twilio's tying this thing into ratings like satisfaction and self-confidence and letting us really do a deep dive in here. And of course, for those of us that do have a preferred workforce system, we can go ahead and export information and pull it over there too. So you have the option of moving to this system that I really would recommend, but nothing's forcing you to get out of your comfort zone if that's where you want to be. Knowledge is pretty cool too, especially with Einstein Analytics. So we can identify what's driving the most call volume and change knowledge to intelligently display. So here we're looking, how do I return an item? Because the case was created about a return. It seems pretty simple, but it's something that a lot of systems historically haven't had the ability to intelligently do. With Einstein Analytics, we can actually get pretty accurate with this. Even when there are a lot of articles around returning an item, we can accurately display the best articles that are going to be most useful, and users can even upvote and downvote them. So I said we were going to talk mostly about support functions, but I do think it's worth giving you a little bit of an idea of how it looks within the system. So here I've got a test account pulled up for me, and I'm going to go ahead and just send myself a test text message replying back to a conversation that we had earlier. And I don't know if I'm loud enough or not, but we'll see if you can hear the notification come through. And I don't think you probably weren't able to, but I have gotten a text message from me now. We could show you a little bit better though, by showing you a web chat. So we're gonna come in here. This is a demo chat site. We could have this button stood up on your website. And I need some help with my widget. So if I come in here and I'll have to sign in, we can have SEO optimized. Right now in this demo org, we don't have it enabled, but this could enable or log you directly in. And then I see I have an incoming chat request when I get logged in. It comes up. I can reply back into that. And if there's information, it's already on my account, but if there's information that we have, like a cookie that we can use to identify, we can then try and screen pop customer information. Of course, a phone number is going to always be the easiest way via a text or a phone call. From here, I could also text my customer or call them. We have that disabled in this org right now to prevent accidental callings when we're demoing. But so that kind of is an idea of the basic ability to embed Flex and Twilio's Flex system inside of Salesforce in a way that is really neat and allows you to work with it. Of course, we can also do this through the Twilio Flex interface. We have our website showing right here at the moment in a mobile version. We could show a CRM entry or anything we wanted here as well. Of course, we're not going to see a whole lot of information with just one agent on the phone. Things never look as good that way. But it's also going to give us an ability to see our different queues, how many people are active, and unfortunately that Spencer's not being very productive right now, sitting in wrap. Of course, after the phone call, we have things to do too, though. So programmable call recording is a really neat feature in Twilio. One of my favorite extensibility points of it is the ability to transcribe phone calls, which we've seen customers use to augment QA. You can get through a whole lot more calls in QA if you're reading a transcript. So sometimes they'll augment and take one or two listened phone calls off a month, add 8 or 10 reviewed phone calls via text, and you can really see a larger sample size of calls. And then, of course, always go back and listen to calls that are problematic. We also have our QA form built in here, so we can set up an assessment. We can walk through all of the assessments we've seen over on the right-hand side of the screen, and this information can all be passed back into our CRM as well. Customer satisfaction ratings is another neat feature. Home Depot actually does use Salesforce for customer satisfaction ratings. We can see that we've auto-generated a survey here, and it's actually branded with Home Depot even. Looks pretty clean and neat. Optimizely has kind of gone with a more streamlined look. This is just a larger view to show you that how nice it looks, how quickly you can gather this information. We can have this first screen show in an outbound email where they could click very satisfied. And skip that get started page entirely if we wanted to as well. Now we're going to go through and set up an alert. So we have a customer that if they have volume over $1 million a year on an account, they actually get an account manager. Anytime one of those accounts receives a bad C-score, we want to go ahead and send out a message. We can use an email alert and rules inside of Salesforce to dynamically generate that based on different criteria. Here's a view of the Twilio Flex dashboard that's now pulling in information from all of this data we've collected, and we can drill down into it. I really, really like Twilio's dashboards. I think they're just great, and the ability to drill into different information and connect all of these things like call dispositions, CSAT ratings, and average handle time all into one really just is neat. This is a look at a tool that Alternative Solutions built for managing public groups and queues inside of Salesforce. We have a problem with users that, or with Salesforce sometimes that companies come to us with. You have to have system admin access to do certain things. This is a tool where we can use a permission set to allow supervisors to actually move users between queues or groups between queues. Just kind of an example of the ability that when Salesforce doesn't do something exactly what you want, because we have all of this custom functionality we can add, we usually can make it work within the bounds of what truly will work best for the customer. So what are some things to keep in consideration before you start? The big one I want to go through is training. So we can give a caveman a computer and a login to Salesforce. We can make it automatically log them into Twilio and take phone calls. They're not going to be able to do it though. So first, we got to train our implementation staff. Your Salesforce admins, I can't stress enough, it's worth it to take the time to let them go through trailheads in the Service Cloud. And then Twilio has so much free training that's actually really, really well done. We'd be remiss in not giving them the time to truly understand the products that they're going to be implementing. Management is one that I think we forget. We think about training our IT staff. We think about training our users. A lot of times we skip management, but they really are a crucial part of this pyramid. So we have to make sure they understand the different topics, both from a systems perspective, but also that you're giving the people that are going to be key decision makers full views into what the call center is doing and how it's working. And then, of course, users who are going to be using the software, and we customize it to make it as friendly as it can be, but we want to show them the best ways to get about and do things. What should you do next? Visit Trailhead and Twilio's training resources. That's always the first step in any of these journeys. It's free, it's useful, and it doesn't take that much of your time to get acquainted and figure out what's useful and what isn't to you. Play around with the sandbox. So open up Service Cloud in a sandbox, see what it can do, and then reach out to your Twilio representative and get the conversation started with them. We also have a resource, Jeff Bryan at Alternative Solutions. So he handles customer onboarding and a lot of things in that nature. Multiple Salesforce certified guy, real intelligent and understands Service Cloud well. So he can kind of get the conversation rolling. And if there's specific areas, he knows the resources available in the company and can make that connection for you. So now if anybody had any questions or thoughts, we'd really enjoy hearing those. And you can feel free to put those in the chat for us. And again, we really appreciate everybody coming today.
Thanks, Spencer. That was great. Yeah, definitely. If we've got some questions, looks like we do have one. Does Twilio come with an out-of-the-box KPIs?
Yeah, so Twilio is going to have certain standard KPIs, you know, average handle time, and a lot of those things. They just are data that we have to define where it's being collected and how to a degree. It's also going to have some customized, like service level, say the percentage of calls answered in a certain time window. A lot of times, 90% of calls in 180 seconds might be a typical in some industries. Those you're going to have to define. And then linking things in like average handle time and CSAT and QA scores and making all of those links or stuff that you have the ability to customize. And so there's going to be an out-of-the-box really nice feature suite. And then you're going to have the ability to expand on that quite a bit from there by making all of these connections because it's connected to SAP, Oracle, your CSAT engine, and things like that. I've never directly integrated to Bold 360, but I do believe that there is the ability. Bold 360's got APIs out there. So if there's not a direct one, then something certainly could be written. And I don't know if anybody else on the team has actually worked directly with Bold 360 as a Twilio function, but I do know Bold 360 speaks pretty easily to the outside world. So certainly it could be made to work. And if it doesn't work, embed directly in without too much work, you also have the ability of embedding Bold 360 inside of Twilio Flex and the dashboard they have there that doesn't even require a whole lot of API work at that point. So yeah, there's multiple ways we could make it work with Bold 360, and we'd probably have to take it offline and the conversation offline to figure out exactly what the best solution would be there. And that's, I think, a good point to make in general. We're talking about Twilio with Salesforce a lot today, and Salesforce is one of the main CRMs that I work within, but Twilio is certainly not limited to speaking to Salesforce. It integrates with a lot of different CRMs out of the box, and even if it doesn't integrate directly out of the box, a lot of times it's going to be pretty simple to connect up the APIs.
Good questions, you guys. Anyone else have any more questions? We've got a few more minutes here. We'd love to get those answered. All right. Well, I guess if no one else has any questions they want to ask, you can always get in touch with Jeff Ryan, as Spencer said, or meet us back for another one of our lunch and learns. But got 4 minutes left for you guys out of your 30 minutes, so I'll give that back to you guys. Thanks for joining us, and we hope that you can join us again for another lunch and learn. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and on our Twitter and all of our other social media, and you'll know more about our lunch and learns. So, thanks, guys. Thanks, Spencer, Michelle, Jeff. And we'll see you guys again soon, hopefully.
Thanks, everyone.